this world was made. I wonder if God is a woman. The gift of life astounds me to this day.
In 1981, Belize became an independent country. However, 34 years later, women in Belize continue to face significant challenges in moving towards parity with men at almost every level of political leadership and decision-making. While there is some female presence at the highest levels of local government, as well as in senior positions in the public service and on statutory boards, women continue to be underrepresented in the National Assembly and the Cabinet. The historically poor representation of women in national government has resulted in fewer women seeking political office and leadership. The absence of women from political leadership significantly reduces the likelihood that issues of critical importance to women and their families will be addressed through policy decisions that take into consideration the impact that those decisions can have on women. This poses a challenge for Belize to meet its international commitment to CEDA and achieving Goal 3 of the MDGs. In response to this very noticeable absence of women, the intention of this project was to serve as an impetus for building greater support for women and gender issues as critical aspects of inclusive democracy, which directly impact national, economic, and social development. The specific objective of the Strengthening Women's Representation in National Leadership in Belize project is to strengthen the capacity of women and civil society organizations to foster and contribute to the development of an inclusive, human rights-oriented political platform to support women's participation as constituent representatives in national elections. Win Belize sees this project as a medium through which it can promote and build public support and advocacy for gender equality in national decision-making and bring visibility to women's political representation.
The purpose of this training program is to strengthen women's political participation and leadership capacities, including those from rural and indigenous backgrounds, to prepare for and conduct local and national elections.
The project was structured around building awareness and capacity at 3 primary levels, which includes national sensitization and awareness on the right of women to political participation and representation, building the capacities of women and civil society organizations to strengthen civil engagement and to promote women's participation in democratic processes, and supporting a cadre of women to bring visibility to women already in leadership positions and those aspiring for political office. The project also builds on the Women in Politics program, piloted by the National Women's Commission in 2010, and the national dialogue titled From the Kitchen to Parliament in 2011, which was coordinated and facilitated by Win Belize and graduates of the Caribbean Institute for Women in Leadership Civil Training. In the face of structural barriers at the level of political parties, cultural challenges within the home and the socialization process, and barriers within a society that think women have no place in political leadership, the project goal was the dialogue on women's right to political representation, capacity building, legislative review, and the visible portrayal of women's leadership capacity at all levels of the community. Over the course of the project, women from across the country were trained in several areas designed to strengthen their understanding of the way in which the political system in Belize works. The women who participated in the training came from various sectors of the community and included teachers, community leaders, village councillors, town councillors, city councillors, public officers, private sector employees, and students. Most women are associated with the political parties in Belize and also represent most of Belize's ethnic groups. The project initially targeted 75 women, inclusive of 25% or 19 indigenous women. A total of 133 applications were received, surpassing the initial goal of 75, and the training commenced with an enrollment of 95 women. Several experienced facilitators, some of whom have been in the political trenches running for elections, worked with the trainees, assisting them with building networking skills and the ability to advance within their political parties, how to strategically position themselves for participation in leadership at the municipal and national levels, as well as in areas such as conducting political rallies, utilizing the media to promote one's candidacy, understanding the representation of the People's Act, and campaign financing. When asked how the training has impacted their lives and prepared them for political participation, two of the women offered these comments.
This training have definitely boosted my self-confidence. I believe most of the trainees taking the training feel more confident after having undergo the training sessions. I think we have a far way to go in terms of getting more women representation in the political process, in particularly at the national level.
I got from the training that Belize offered an in-depth look at the Constitution of Belize. I got an in-depth feel on what it is to finance a campaign, on what it takes for women to face these barriers and to overcome these barriers that come along with the political game.
An integral aspect of the project was the national consultation undertaken to gather input from members of the public, specifically women in community service organizations, on the issue of advancing women's participation in electoral politics and garnering their suggestion for amendments to the Representation of the People's Act, ROPA, to facilitate greater representation of women in national electoral politics in Belize. Public consultation meetings were held in each district and targeted women's groups and organizations working to promote the rights of women. Focus group discussions were held with political parties, and interviews were done with women who had been or who were involved in national electoral politics in Belize. Additionally, one-on-one interviews were done with some women CEOs and directors, as well as interviews with the National Elections and Boundaries Department on the electoral system in Belize. A number of recommendations came out of those consultations, which emphasized the need for legislative reform to the Representation of the People's Act, from conception to inception, and finally, graduation. This project has been a series of lessons in understanding the political process in Belize and the importance of having women representation and participation in that process. The lessons learned are numerous and speaks to the transformation that all the participants have undergone. Some of the most profound statements on the involvement of women, as expressed in the words of participants, are: women want to see more women candidates in the national elections. The involvement of women in electoral politics is beneficial to the development of the democratic process in Belize. Women support legislative reform to increase the participation of women as candidates in national elections. Women support the need for campaign finance reforms through legislative amendments. Women need to engage the media and work to garner the support of the media for women political candidates. In her address to the women who participated in the project, the director of Belize had this to say.
Receiving these comments helped to reinforce the need for a cadre of women to be at the highest level of decision-making in Belize. So women, let us claim our space and be a force to be reckoned with. Let us create the change we want to see. Let us be like Miss Sadie Vernon, who said that she wanted to open a school for girls and did it. Let us together achieve our vision of seeing more women in the House of Representatives.
Two of the women speaking on behalf of the participants also shared their thoughts.
Together, as a cohort, we have developed the networking skill and the political voice that will enable us to detract the societal perception that women are not capable of being in the leadership positions. I have no doubt that each of us have sacrificed and completed this training motivated by a sense of duty and care for our community and our country, by a belief that we have something positive to contribute to the development of our nation. In short, I have no doubt that we're motivated by a desire to serve.
To summarize, I highlight the three most important lessons that training to be leaders has planted in me. Lesson 1, as women, we are individually responsible to lend support to each other, regardless of political affiliation or any other dividing factor. Through our training, we have established a sisterhood, a network, a cobweb of connections that no political lines can ever sever. Lesson 2, we budget, we nurture, we clean, we plan, we lead. Lesson 3, training has taught us that a leader is someone who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. We, as trained women leaders, we are confident in our abilities to be but servants to our people.
At the end of the project, 71 women, or 75% of the women who started the course, completed the full training and came away with an in-depth look at the political process in Belize and training in those areas that feature prominently in this process. Along the way, a few of the women participated in elections at the village and municipal level. Of the 46 women who contested the municipal elections, 11 of them were graduates of the project. In looking at how far the participants had come and his perspective on the project, Mayor Darrell Bradley had this to say.
Each and every one of you are a tremendous resource already. There is training that will help you to be empowered. There is capacities that need to be imparted, but you have what it takes. You have the drive and you have the will because you've signed up for this program to make it happen. So see yourself as that catalyst for change.
Alicia St. Luce of UNDP shared the organization's vision and commitment to the involvement of women in political representation and leadership.
Our commitment at UNDP is to strengthen capacities of women and civil society organizations to forge the development of an inclusive political platform to institutionalize equal access to participation of women in national leadership and build the capacity of women's leaders to participate as constituents, representatives in national elections. Our commitment is also to ensure that women have a real voice in all governance institutions, from the judiciary, the private sector, and civil society, so we can participate equally with men in public dialogue and decision-making. Through the United Nations Democracy Fund, this Strengthening Women's Representation in National Leadership project addresses these sociocultural issues, in particular, recognizing that our existing democratic system does not support gender equality at the highest level of decision-making.
Director of WIN Belize, Carolyn Reynolds, reiterated WIN Belize's agenda in the continued strengthening of the engagement of women in the political process in Belize.
WIN Belize promotes the empowerment of women in Belize and is recognized both nationally and internationally as a catalyst for gender equity and equality. Let us together achieve our vision of seeing more women in the House of Representatives. Remember, women can lead. Thank you.
With the conclusion of the project, participants have been emboldened and empowered to step out in confidence, bolstered by their understanding of the political system, to seek out and embrace all opportunities for political representation and participation in Belize.
Women can lead, women will lead.